Hey everybody, Scoutcrafter here again. Today's going to be a pretty short one today because I have a ton of stuff going on. I had to drop a few couple trees down, and we have some stormy season coming up, and I don't want to take a chance, if it falls on your neighbor's property or it takes down some wires, and so you have to be prepared and you have to look ahead. So a lot of work going on. Let me give you a quick look. I can't tell you, this is killing me. I have to take off all these branches and parts of the tree. It just knocks me out. But what can you do? You have to do it, right? So as you can see, September is always a busy month for me. And anyway, I didn't want to miss my upload schedule, so I'm just going to do a quick... I know from last video, it seems like we have a lot of knife enthusiasts out there, and we want to continue with that today. And I want to show you some, my collection is mostly packed up, but I wanted to show you some that I dug out from the 40s and 50s, and a couple interesting knives you might not have seen before. When I tell you this hasn't been touched in years, you can see this was in my attic, and it's a mess. So before we get into it, I'm going to do a quick cleanup, and I'm going to use this given to me by Dean, Dean Collins from the Route 66 Museum in Oklahoma, and this is some details spray, and I'm looking forward to trying this out, so let's give it a shot. Oh my goodness, Dean, you were right. This moonshiner detail spray is unbelievable. Look at this. Look how nice this came out, I mean, I wish you could feel it too. The sheen on here, and it's so smooth, and it really did a nice job on this. So let's see what we got inside. This is a collection of, during the 40s and 50s, what was big years ago was novelty knives. And these are a little bit of a collection. Let me show you what these are. These are pretty interesting. They were basically... they clear acrylic. They had a back acrylic here. These are made in the USA. These are reproductions of the original ones. But it was a single blade, nice and thin, easily carried. And a lot of boys would have these. Again, you can see they were made in the USA. This is a Gene Autry model. And these are really interesting. Let me show you what they... Okay, I put these on a little turntable here so you can get a look at each one up close. Like I said, these are about 20-year-old reproductions, and they were real popular in the 40s and 50s. And here's an interesting one. This is a Roy Rogers trick knife, and it's got the mother of pearl handles. What's interesting is you can see there's no little thumb slot to open up the blade. So you sit there and you try and open it, you can't open it. And how you open this kind of knife is you turn it upside down, and then you press the blade in like this, and it pops out. And then you could open up the knife. And to close it, you turn it right side up like this. You press it once, and it locks. So that's real interesting, huh? A little Roy Rogers trick knife. Next up, we have this nice. This one's a Belgian example, but they were made all over England. A lot of play France made these. These were World War II issue knives, but this one was made right after the war. This one dates back to 1950. You can see when you open up here the blade. This is a can opener here. And you could see the marking 1950, and but it has a little bit of rust spots on here, you could see, and we're going to address that right now. We're going to take it over and clean up that rust, get that off of there, and just we're not going to go nuts on this, but this is a Marlinspike. I'll show you how that works after we clean it up. And we're calling this project done. Here it is all cleaned up. You can see what we did with the blade. We took all the rust out, the staining and everything, and just made it original. It's all original now. You can see all the lettering, everything is nice. The handles, the scales are just beautiful. This is a really good knife, and These are it's still available, readily available. It's a great because it's a collectible. Not only is a World War II collectible, but it's also a great pocket knife, and it's very useful. Let me show you a little bit about this Marlinspike. A lot of people really don't know what the difference between a knot and a hitch is. A knot is made to almost be semi-permanent. A hitch is made to release easily. So this is definitely a knot. It's a double overhand knot. And when these get cinched down, they get very difficult to release. And you can see here, this one's really in. And what a Marlinspike is made to do is it's made to get in between here and work the line free so that you can loosen this up and get it out. It's no easy task. When these things get cinched down, especially a good line or a heavy-duty line, it is very difficult to get them untied. So to get this Marlinspike and work it through, and then pull it through, you can see this is the only way to easily get the knot out. If you try and do it with your fingers, you'll be there all day. So there you can see, using the Marlinspike, we were able to get that out, and it's a wonderful little tool. And it's something that if you ever come across, a lot of mariners will use this, and anybody that's out to sea. I wonder if Randy Richard ever had one of these when he was aboard ship, but really interesting little knife. If you get a chance, pick one of these up. You won't regret it. Next up, I just want to show you these. I hope you excuse my ignorance on them, but there is a lot of good videos on these type of this is a bayonet, a military bayonet, made for the AK style weapons, some AK-47, AKM, things like that. And these were produced all over communist countries. They were also made in different areas, and what's interesting about these type, you can tell, a lot of the experts can tell by the handle styles and the dates and things like that, and there's markings, stamping markings, exactly where they came from. But basically, what's interesting about these is they came onto the market about 20 years ago. They were selling these dirt cheap, like 12 bucks each. And, I picked up a couple because I thought these were really interesting. And again, the Scouts used to love stuff like this. And basically, you can see how this works. And here it is. It uses that old style World War I type clasp. They don't use the button clasp. And also, if you can see, here's a double. It also has a little lanyard from the tip of the handle down to this back piece here that you would use during transport so it don't get lost and things like that. And how this bayonet basically works is like any other bayonet. It attaches to the weapon. Underneath the weapon is a little lug, and the lug clips on here, and the barrel goes through here. And you could see you can actually shoot with the bayonet on. And it has the grind on the blade is very interesting. And let me talk. When I first looked at the bayonet, I said, look at this. It's only ground on one side. You can see here it's flat on this side and ground on this side. I said, that's strange. They don't even take the time to grind both sides. And then I found out there's a reason for that. And that is because if you look at a standard knife, it's ground. It's called a double bevel. It's beveled on both sides of the blade, and you can see the angle. Whereas this bayonet is ground on one side. And you could see, because of that, the angle is much more acute, and you can get a sharper angle from beveling it just on the one side. Plus, it's a little bit easier to sharpen. So it's an amazing, at first I thought, what do they do? But it's a good design, that single edge. It makes it very sharp and easy to keep sharp. And also how these are captive, you could see here, they're very, they're really in there. There's a piece of spring steel in here that holds these in. And when these go in, they're not falling out under any circumstance. And lastly, one of the most interesting features of this knife, you could see here the reason that this is like a Bakelite type, and this one here has an insulator on here. It's a kind of a rubber type, and it's a wire cutter. And if you see this little hole in the blade, you place that over here like that, and now this becomes a wire cutter. Or you put the wire in here, and it cuts it. Let's give it a shot. Now to demonstrate the wire cutter, I just got a small piece of wire here in the vise over here, and I'll put the wire cutter on it here, and you could see it cuts right through. So it's made to cut like barbed wire, electric wire, fence wire, things like that. Very interesting design. I have a really cool item from World War II. I bought it from a lady whose father actually had this and carried it overseas, and then brought it back and had it till the day he died, and then his daughter sold it to me. So let's check it out. The year is 1942. The Army Air Corps is looking for a design to come up with a folding machete that they could put in their bailout kits for bomber pilots and other pilots that are flying over the South Pacific and things like that, that if they get caught in the jungles, they have some kind of survival knife. They came up with this design. A few manufacturers made it for the Army. Camelus was one of them. Case was another. There was a couple others too. And let me show you about this really cool little folding machete. It's about 11 inches long folded. To open it up, what you would do is you would just take the handle like this, and then just like a regular pocket knife, very strong retention lock on here. And to release it, you push that to the side. And it had a blade guard. Now, this was a problem because a lot of times this blade guard would get lost. And when it did, you had an issue because now you had a sharp blade when it was folded in your pack or whatever. But pilots still liked them. They made their way to other units in theater in the South Pacific, and also even in Europe these showed up. But they were very popular with the troops because they were a little chunky, but not for my big hands. But if you had small hands, they were a little bit chunky. But they were strong and they worked well. These came sharpened from the factory. This one still has the factory grind on it. And it's not razor sharp, not, you know, but this is just what you would want for a folding machete. And really interesting, really heavy duty. It's a well-made item. You don't see these usually with missing scales or anything. It's usually when you see them, they might be rusted and stuff, but they do work, and they are really a nice unit. Now, eventually, when I get better at my blade grinding, I do intend to take this down and to give it a nice polish on here. But this is original, and it is a nice unit, a nice commemorative piece to World War II. And to close it, you just put the blade guard on like that, release the little lever here, push down, and close it up. And then you would put this in your pack or whatever. And really nice. And if you ever felt one of these, you'd see how heavy duty they are, and a really nice piece to have. So keep an eye out. You do find these. They're all over eBay, but they do vary in price a lot. But you know, expect to see a lot of them going for about $100. So in closing, I got to get back outside and do some more work. But I hope you enjoyed today's little presentation. Take care now. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.